Good morning class. So let's see with today's articles of paper Hindu. So yes, yesterday we were discussing that our India have started this evacuation program with the name called Operation Kaveri from Sudan. So from Sudan to India, that is what we have started our operation, because Sudan is under war conditions, so they are under disputes. So we have started this evacuating program. So amid ceasefire, the first set of Indians leaves war battered Sudan. So for the first set of people have arrived India. So the group of 278 people was among the first to reach Port Sudan for evacuation. More measures are being taken to broaden this Operation Kaveri. So they are being transported through INS Sumedha, and currently INS Teg is also onboarded to evacuate our Indians to India. So the ceasefire as of now in Sudan for evacuation program to continue, and after that again they might continue their war. In this meantime, we should ensure that our Indians are being deported to India. Fine. So that is about this article. Next. So yes, no scraping of 4% quota to Muslims till May 9th, says Supreme Court. So earlier we have seen one article, so many articles actually in the month of March I think, stating that the 4% reservation quota especially for Muslims in Karnataka will be scraped. The government has issued that we will be scraping it, and we will be dividing this 4% into 2% for Okkaligas and 2% for Lingayats. That is what they have made announcement. In this regard, Supreme Court has mentioned that until unless you are very sure, that means if their rights are not being compromised, and what is your rationale behind this scraping of existence of 4% reservation, till then you should not be taking any kind of government recruitments until this decision of filling up of quota is done. That is what Supreme Court has mentioned. But as of now, the Karnataka government has given the adjournment motion, it has won the adjournment motion. That means this particular case has been postponed till May 9th. So till then no other government recruitments will be happening, and further what is the update on these employment facilities will be known. So the reservations in these employment or other benefits will be known. So in this regard, the senior advocate has mentioned that, so Justice Joseph has mentioned that, he has pointed that Muslims for a very long period were in between, were treated as a more backward community. They were sandwiched somewhere between the most backward and backward communities. So for the backward communities you have OBCs, and the most backward communities some of the other benefits were there, but the Muslims are in between both. So how far can you scrape this existence of reservation shall be examined by Supreme Court. Till then please wait. That is what Supreme Court has mentioned. Next. India to host SCO defense ministers meeting this week. So I have told that India will be hosting Shanghai Cooperation Organization for this particular year. So the member countries of SCO are Russia, China, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan and Pakistan. So you need to know our rivalries China and Pakistan are also there in this SCO, and currently also Russia is also part. So Russia is also part of SCO, and all these three defense delegates are going to enter into India, whereas the Pakistan's member defense minister will be attending the session virtually. However, the rest of the two defense ministers of China and Russia will be attending India to this particular defense meeting of SCO. So India will host defense ministers from the SCO group, including China's Li Shangfu and Russia's Shanghai Shoigu. Later this week, India's Ministry of Defense have announced it. So that is about this article. So there are certain observers who are Belarus and Iran too. They will also be visiting India. Fine. So the main motto to discuss is about regional peace and security and counter-terrorism efforts within the SCO and an effective multilateralism. So that is what the area of discussion for this particular meeting would be. Fine. So the test is how far can courts go on same-sex union. So earlier when this case, even now the case is still going on in Supreme Court. So what they have mentioned is that we definitely know that Parliament is actually concerned to take any kind of action or legislation for approving or disapproving same-sex union marriage. However, we are testing the level till which Supreme Court or the judiciary can go on this same-sex union marriage. So that is what the Supreme Court has mentioned. So we are completely aware that these rights are vested with Parliament. However, and also they have mentioned that this marriage and divorce is a entry 5 of your concurrent list, where this particular jurisdiction will come for both central government and state government. So we are working on how far can judiciary intervene into this particular judgment. That is what Supreme Court has announced. So this announcement means definitely they are going to take some or the other action or recommendations towards this, that you need to understand. This article will be a continuum. So till that announcement judgment is announced, till then this article will be coming up. Next. So the Sudan program, even Sri Lanka has sought help of India for these evacuations of Sri Lankans from Sudan. So just for your understanding, nothing more than that. Oil prices, El Nino, key risk to inflation, growth outlook. So what is happening? India might be affecting a bit because of the effect of inflation, because of which the growth in or inflation in oil prices, because the OPEC plus have decided to cut down production of oil far more, and also the speculation of El Nino, where the drought conditions would be prevalent in our country. So that is what this particular speculation is about on our Indian economy. As of now, the growth rate prediction for this fiscal year is 6.5%. So downside risk to the official 6.5% GDP growth projection for this fiscal dominate, ministry says in monthly report, flags milk, wheat and crude oil prices as posing risks to the outlook on inflation. So the finance ministry on Tuesday warned that a downside risk to the official 6.5% GDP growth projection for this year could dominate as the prospect of El Nino conditions triggering a drought, along with geopolitical developments and concerns about the global financial stability. So this might be possible threats to India. That is what they are telling. So is it likely to achieve 6.5% or not? We have to see. Fine. So favorable combination of growth and inflation outcomes currently anticipated. So that is what they mentioned. OPEC plus groups have announced that it will be cutting down the production. So that is what they have mentioned here. And also they have highlighted the easing of inflationary pressures. So on the positive end. However, caution that volatile, so they have mentioned that currently there is easing of inflationary pressures, but still we have to be cautious when it comes to volatile oil prices and constrained supplies of milk hit by disease affecting millions of cattle, and wheat may affect the inflation trajectory. So right now it is easing, but still we are not sure enough how far these level of impacts will be on our GDP growth rate, predictions of growth rate. Fine. Next, so government will not tolerate cheating by e-commerce firms, says Goyal, Piyush Goyal. So he is our Commerce Minister, so Ministry of Commerce, so Commerce and Industry. So what he has mentioned is the government is not against the discount offers. That means whatever the e-commerce websites we have, it is not against this discount offers. However, this will not tolerate any kind of cheating where marketplaces sell their wares through such sales, even though foreign development direct investment policies does not allow them to sell directly to consumers. That means certain products can be sold to the intermediaries and later on to the consumers. So this rate risk would be reduced if the manufacturers directly enter into the market. Currently, if there is any kind of situation where there is cheating scenario in the marketplace, where the same particular object is obtained at very cheap rates in one particular arena, whereas in some particular e-commerce website it is very higher cost, which is again threatening the producer or the person who is selling it. In such cases, we will not tolerate. That is what Piyush Goyal has mentioned about. Next. So understanding the temperature anomalies. So earlier also we have discussed that this like in the last fiscal year or in the winter, the gone winter, we have seen chilling winter. That means we have seen the La Nina conditions where we have seen extreme weather conditions, huge rainfall, huge decrease in temperatures, and which had, so we had a speculation that this year we will be having El Nino, which are drought conditions. So what is this anomalies and what is global warming? That is about this article. So I will be giving you a gist, but I strictly recommend you to go through this article and the next coming article, very important for your exam. Fine. So global warming does not mean that each month or each year will be warmer than the previous or the previous year. The global distribution of temperature anomalies is due to the land-ocean atmosphere process that dynamically determine the weather and climate. So what they are mentioning is global warming doesn't mean that consistent increase in temperatures year after year. No. It is the change in weather conditions, the less predictability that is occurring. Can be adverse conditions, very hot, very cool. So this predictability will be reduced. So one year it will be very hot climate, the other year will be very cool climate. These conditions they have mentioned. Fine. So the end of the year annual summary by US Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration contextualizes individual months ranking by temperature anomalies. So they have started ranking based on this temperature anomalies. What is the changes in different temperatures for that particular year? How far it is predictable, how far it is not predictable. While this year's March was the second warmest March compared to the 2016 year March, this year is a second. So 2016 March is a very highest warmest temperature, and this March is the second warmest March, occurred just few years ago in 2016 when the biggest El Nino of the 21st century triggered a mini global warming. So during 2016 there was occurrence of El Nino which triggered almost a mini global warming in Indian climate. Each year's March can be warmer or cooler than the March of the year before. Natural climate variability including events like El Nino can temporarily spike temperatures. That is what they mentioned. Next, climate scientists need to provide the proper context when they compare and rank individual months against each other. So what they are trying to do? The climate scientists need to provide proper context. So for comparison they have to provide a proper context in individual months against each other months. So they have also given a picture where there is completely unstable global warming observed. So they have also mentioned what is El Nino and the news about it, again the same repetition. There was news recently that March 2023 was the second warmest record. What does this actually mean? Everything again they have mentioned. So NOAA summit and what is its implication on India. So what is this El Nino? Everything I have already mentioned. Again what is El Nino? El Nino means in simple terms we will be having harsh summer. Drought conditions might be observed. The temperatures will be very high. Whereas if La Nina occurs, we receive huge amounts of rainfall. That is what the difference is. Right now we are expecting this El Nino conditions. Fine. Next, genome sequencing, very important as part of your biotechnology topic of science and technology. So genome sequences and the Genome India project. So what is this project about? Why is this project important and what is its significance of genome sequencing? Entire article is important. We will see the gist and I strictly recommend you to go through this particular article. You can go into the Telegram channel and download this. Fine. So Department of Biotechnology recently said that the exercise to sequence 10,000 human genomes and create a database under Center-backed Genome India project is about 2/3 complete. So what the government has announced is that this genome sequences, the project is about creating a database of these all genomes of 10,000 different human beings genomes, 10,000 Indian genomes into one central database. And right now 2/3 of this project is already done. That means out of 10,000, 7,000 is done, 3,000 is remaining. So genome sequences has been to evaluate the rare disorders, preconditions for disorders, even cancer from the viewpoint of genetics and rather than as diseases of certain organs. So what does this genome sequences does and why should we do it? So if at all we are having these genomes of Indians, we can understand what are the preconditions of existing of different diseases, including cancer. So, not treating it as a disease that is occurring to a particular organ, the genetical information or the genetical backup of occurrence of this particular diseases can be understood. Next, creating a database of Indian genomes allow researchers to learn about genetic variants unique to India's population groups and use that to customize drugs. So, what we are trying to do? We know this database, researchers can find out what can be the possible implication. For suppose if they identified this particular genetical type of variety might face this reaction. If they have a proper database, they can understand what kind of population, what kind of genetic information that is there in the people and use that for customizing the drugs. So, that is what our target is. So, the disease burden can be greatly reduced if we have used or if we properly focus on this particular database. That is why this genome sequencing project is very important for us. Fine. So, Department of Biotechnology is ahead. Recently exercised that the sequence of 10,000 human genomes in a center-backed genome database. So, 7,000 genomes have already been sequenced, whereas 3,000 are available for public access for researchers. So, what is genome sequencing? A human genome is an entire set of deoxyribonucleic acid, which is DNA, residing in the nucleus of every cell of human body. It carries the complete genetic information responsible for the development and functioning of the organism, and the DNA consists of double-stranded molecule built by 4 bases. So, basically what they are mentioning about, what is this genome sequencing? Basically human genome is the DNA which is being present in every other cell. So, based on this genome we can understand what is the genetics of our body, of our human being. So, what we will be doing? So, it has 4 bases, while the sequence of base is identical in all humans. There are differences in genome of every human that makes them unique. So, every genome is unique, but if at all we are able to collect 10,000, then collecting the rest of the information will also be easy. First targeting 10,000, then the other part of the country. Fine. So, the process of deciphering the order of base pairs to decode the genetic fingerprint of human is called genome sequencing. So, what we are going to do? We are going to split. The deciphering is to understand this base pairs, 4 base pairs are there in DNA. So, to understand these base pairs and extract the genetic footprint of a human is called your genome sequencing. So, because of which we can identify these rare diseases. So, applications would be understanding the rare diseases, preconditions, and also for cancer treatment can be used. So, that is entirely about this article. So, just go through and that will suffice. Yes, that is the last article for today. So, we will meet in the next session for more current affairs. Thank you for the session. Good day.